I'm here with Legacy's mid laner Claire. Mate, congratulations on the first win of the day. The first win for you as well?
Yep, thank you. Thanks
Feeling
so much.
good?
Yeah, I feel good. I think it was a pretty clean game, and I'm happy with how we played.
It seemed like yesterday a lot of the OS teams were playing pretty aggro. You guys took it a bit slower. Was that just playing to your playstyle?
Yeah, I think generally we're a pretty slow team. Even when we get a lead, we try to not start so many random fights. Maybe it's also a confidence thing. I think the other teams are really confident in themselves, and we're just like, we don't want to take these 50-50 fights like you had the Chiefs say 50-50 Kings, right?
Yeah.
So we don't really like doing that, but I think also USG played pretty passive as well because they were behind. I know that like they looked for opportunities, but it was just pretty hard for them.
Yeah, and I feel like every time they did look for an opportunity, you guys kind of had the answer to be able to take them apart, so it was pretty good. My only other question, were you intimidated at all by the face tattoos of Unsold stuff?
I think they're really cool. Every time I see a team have like those tattoos for them,
Yeah.
I was like, wow, that looks really nice. But I don't think it's intimidating. I think it's cool, and I'd like to try it someday maybe.
Get like a full like tree trunk and then coming up there. I think that'd be sick. Well, congratulations on the win. We're looking forward to seeing more of you, man.
Thank you.
Certainly does not, but takes a big chunk of damage. Actually gets flashed into the wall and will fall down. First blood for Claire. Scary goes into ultimate already, will get chunked out, will go very low. Ignite is popped, and he will eventually burn down. Solo kill for Claire. And now Tussle by himself is in so much trouble. NT will bring his AD carry to the fight, and now it is a 5v3. The bottom lane of Legacy is nowhere to be seen, and they are getting ripped apart. A flash forward from Gary Arrow actually might be able to grab this one. Ornhorn is going down, and somehow no, Claire will fall. Mimic's being caught out, turns around, goes on to NT. However, that is a tanky catfish, and Apperman now will just continue the chase. Gungo is here, and that will be Mimic falling. USG take the fight. Bubble land, and Gungo goes down. The shutdown, and into the back line they go. Apperman will join him, and this will be Legacy pushing down mid. Flashes forward for the next one, now looking for NT, looking for them both. We'll get one, we'll get two. Claire is unstoppable, and Oceania starts day 2 like they started day 1, on the right foot, and they pick up the win.
Claire there from Legacy earlier, quietly confident, and I feel like deservedly so. Legacy did a good job controlling that game.
Yeah, I mean, Legacy played fantastically in that game once they got the lead early. It was actually very tragic from Unsold Stuff Gaming, what happened at level 1. Usually a side, I know it was mentioned, that want to be very aggressive and control the pace themselves. Legacy gave them no chance, and it started very early.
And it seems like a lot of the games so far this Rivals has been, there's been a lot of centered around Baron. It seems to be a high priority for nearly every team.
Yeah, pretty much. The Baron seems to be the biggest focal point, as it always has been, but in this tournament, it actually tends to dictate who wins the game in the next couple of minutes near immediately. A lot of the compositions aren't very good at taking committal fights, not just the Wombo that we saw from the Chiefs, who'll be playing next earlier in the tournament. So a lot of this fights, a lot of the compositions are really reliant on getting the Baron buff to end the game at all, and once they get it, the game's pretty much over.
And you mentioned the Chiefs. We've got Chiefs versus the Kuala Lumpur Hunters up next. Who do you tip for that game?
I personally would be looking at the Chiefs coming into this next game, and I know we just said that compositions don't seem to do what the Chiefs do, but I think they've got a lot of momentum. The hardest thing is their opponents in this one, Kuala Lumpur Hunters. We have no sample size, no idea what's going to happen. The one game from them, they just got smashed by the Direwolves, so I'm going to commit to the Chiefs. I think they've improved from yesterday.
Well, very exciting, and we're about to see how they get smashed, if they get smashed at all, when we throw it over to the caster's desk.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. It sounds a little bit like Rusty maybe is a little bit of favoritism going on over there. Hello, everybody. My name is Jake Hipbrain Matthews, and joining me here on the caster desk is Bryce E. Jim Paul. How are you doing today?
I'm pretty good. I thought you forgot my name for a second there.
I may
but,
did. I may have.
You got it in the end. It's fine, mate. We got there. It's cool.
Yeah, well, first of all, coming up, game 2 of the day, second day of the day. Second day of the week, sorry. It is going to be the Chiefs taking on the Kuala Lumpur Hunters. The Chiefs 1-1 on the board so far. And the Kuala Lumpur Hunters, pretty tough day 1. Pretty convincing loss.
Yeah, we've seen more from the Chiefs, of course. They got to play 2 games, whereas the KLH only got to play 1. So Rusty talked about sample size. We don't know what a good game looks like from the KL Hunters, whereas we kind of have seen that from the Chiefs. We saw yesterday them pull out some uncharacteristic, honestly, for them style compositions. They played towards the top side. They played through Swiper in game number 1 versus Dead FM with that Kled, and they picked some very defensive stuff. Babip was on the Sejuani, Destiny was constantly on the Tahm Kench, and that's just not what we normally see out of this lineup.
Yeah, I mean, going on to the Chiefs as well, keeping on with that, like, they just look very good in their games. Even on the games where they lost, they were still ahead in that game for quite a lot. I mean, game 1, very coin flippy.
Yep. Game 2.
Game 2, they were ahead, and then
They coin flipped the ending. We're like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, a bit of a yikes, boys.
Do
Like,
you know what? We're just gonna lose here.
Yeah, they've been playing very aggressive, right? They've had some super hectic games. Game 1 was Dead FM. You mentioned coin flip. It was just like team fight after team fight after team fight, and eventually they won out. Their composition came online. They just had a whole bunch of damage to back it up. Game number 2, unfortunately, Chiefs went for like, if you're an OPL fan, the classic Chiefs end. It's very sketch. It's in the base, but they do all commit. And unfortunately, they look for the fight, they look for the inhib, and just gets turned around. They lose the game in one foul swoop.
Well, while we're on the Chiefs, let's bring up the Chiefs roster. In the top lane is going to be Swiper, Babip in the jungle, Ryoma is going to be their mid laner, and it's Raze and Destiny in the bot lane.
Yeah, and I'm expecting to agree with Rusty here coming into this. I expect Chiefs to actually take out this game. I mentioned KLH. We haven't really seen what a good game looks like. They did play only 1 versus the Direwolves, seed number 1. This is now seed 2 from Oceania in the Chiefs, but it was pretty rough yesterday.
I think for the Chiefs, it's kind of how clean they can close this out, really. You know, this is, if you can close out clean against this team, you're going to kind of feel a bit, you're going to have that good confidence going into day 3 and, you know, potentially the finals. But this is the team they're going to be going up against, the Kuala Lumpur Hunters. Shiro in the top lane. Kaspel is their jungler. R-Hedge in the mid lane. And Azura Veki with Sup-Iria as the bot lane duo.
And you just want to see them have a good start to the game, right? That game versus Direwolves yesterday fell apart very quickly. It was the biggest stomp we've had of this tournament. Direwolves, specifically Shernfire, just ran a clinic over the jungle. So you just wanted a better early start, and you want them to maybe just get into the mid game even and potentially be able to challenge Chiefs when they get to that Chiefs 20-minute mark.
Okay, well, we'll have to see whether or not they can do that. Any kind of emphasis we're seeing here towards picks and bans from these teams? I know we've seen a lot of the Swain throughout this entire tournament. A lot of emphasis on the Zoe as well in the mid lane.
Yeah, I feel like Chiefs are just going to go back to like hard CC and damage. Like they pick Swiper, a good matchup in the top lane. They have CC there. I expect them to do the same for Destiny. On the other side, I want to see maybe just a more standard composition coming out of KLH. I feel like they just need to play more patiently. The success we saw from Pentagram against the Chiefs was they just bid their time. Chiefs were constantly aggressing, looking for those picks, and they just played it cool, played it back. We're just baiting them into fights, and then eventually they won that game. And the fall down for KLH against the Direwolves yesterday was the fact that they were just super impatient in the early game. They were contesting things that they just shouldn't be contesting and constantly just fell down. It just meant the gold lead grew exponentially very fast.
Well, we are into picks and bans. Morgana and Zoe taken off the board so far. KLH looking to take away their second ban. They've got 2 seconds left on the clock. That will be the Nocturne.
I expect the Chiefs to potentially just ban away something like the Talia as well. Talia Nocturne we've seen so many times hit the bench. And everyone's been playing a lot of Graves, a lot of Trundle, things like that. Lucian is another one that has been super high priority this tournament, and not just for the regions we expect. We've seen Oceania try to pick it up, the Southeast Asian regions as well. As it's interesting to see the different metas of all these different regions come together.
Yeah, well, has had some pretty good shows on it. We had Yatori Moyashi get that 1v3 on the Lucian, and that was pretty clean. Obviously not playing in this game. Another champion we've seen a lot of priority on, mainly in the bans, has been that Talia, been very potent in the jungle in the games we've seen her.
And it makes sense to ban Talia against the Chiefs specifically. Babip on your screen right now is a very aggressive jungler, and Chiefs, maybe not at this tournament, but stylistically they rely on their mid-jungle 2v2 to be aggressive and get that good matchup. So banning away an early game skirmish jungler with a lot of control like the Talia makes a lot of sense. And just a good overall coverage ban there.
Well, Chiefs going to take away their final ban. That is the Sejuani and an instant hover of the Aatrox. I know we don't talk about hovers, but
you're doing it anyway?
I'm doing it anyway, because yesterday we saw Paz on the Aatrox, and he tried his best. He had a very, very strong early game, and I think what a lot of people kind of don't really realize with the Aatrox is early, his damage is filthy. As you do move into late, it does fall off a cliff. But for the moment, probably not going to get locked in as a high priority first pick. However, the first pick is going to be that Swain. The champion has had probably the highest priority in this tournament.
Yeah, potentially there. It's definitely in contention. Ryoma actually played 2 Swain games, not being much of a Swain player, really at all. And if you go back and watch the VODs, things like that, Ryoma actually had a very rough game on that Swain initially against Saris on the Aurelia, fell down very early. Was the recipient of a lot of kills, cleaning up on the back end of the fight, but Swain has just been a power pick for almost every region tracking into the rest of the tournament.
The Rakan gets picked up by the Chiefs. You spoke to me about Destiny's Rakan when I popped into the office when I first landed here, and everyone bigged up, this is it. They love their engage. It's so aggressive. It's so true to the Oceanic style. And Destiny on Rakan is apparently pretty staple.
Pretty damn good, you know. It's pretty reliable. The range is just so big. can cover so much distance here. Destiny, obviously on your screen right now, looks very happy with their pickup, and this is a very different style than we've seen from the Chiefs this tournament. They've now got Babip, that carry matchup, with 3 junglers banned, the Nocturne, the Talia, and the Sejuani. They just go for the Graves. We saw Tussle on it last game, fell behind early. He won't want to be suffering the same fate.
Now, I'm really liking this from the Kuala Lumpur Hunters. They're recognizing how the OPL plays, you know, with this constant aggression, with this constant fighting.
Yep.
They're going, we'll match you on that.
Yes.
We played against, you know, we got stomped, but we want to stomp back. So they've got themselves the Ornn here for the engage. They've got themselves the Swain for the extended fight. And now they're just going to lock in the Alistar as well to add more layered CC, more engage.
And we haven't really seen this happen all too often. Teams have just been playing more passive, scaling up, playing more defensive into the aggressive lineups that the Chiefs have been picking. The Ornn is a big takeaway from Swiper, but...
Oh, that's big.
Yep.
Okay, well, Swiper gets his hands on the Kled. For anyone who didn't tune into game 1 of day 1, Swiper, we were like, he's kind of the weak spot for the Chiefs. He popped off on the Kled.
He absolutely did. Very good game. Gives us a wink as well. Feeling pretty good. That was a dodgy wink, mate. He can do better than that. But no, he's cleared. Very good performance. It was kind of not spoken about too much in the cast. Like, we're looking at the game, we're focusing a lot on Raze on that Varus, but in the backline, he was just such a nuisance. And when you have a dive composition like the one KLH have already picked up, Swain wants to be diving into the backline. On the CC's the backline, Ali just wants to dive in. When you have champions like Rakan, who now has a dive buddy in the Kled, diving onto your carries in the backline, it's so annoying to deal with.
Well, Xin Zhao and Vladimir are going to get taken off the board. We did see how much damage Vladimir could do. Played quite a lot in the ADC role, but not going to be coming through this time. Camille gets followed up by the Chiefs, and one more ban remains for KLH.
Yep, they've got about 20 seconds to decide on this one. I do like the bans coming out of the Chiefs. They ban away the early game ganking junglers, away from Caspiel there. They've got the Graves, if he can just get a melee matchup, potentially maybe a tank, something like that. But the fact that KLH haven't really picked their jungler yet, they went for the top side of the map and the support, they don't really care that much, and they've given away the Graves. I feel like they might have a trick up their sleeve.
I mean, there's been 4 jungle bans total in this game, if you count the Talia.
5 now, Sejuani.
Sorry, 5, yes.
Yep.
I'd miss a Sejuani. 5 jungle bans total. That's a lot of attention on this matchup here, and Babet's managed to get himself a pretty high priority jungler. Speaking of high priority, we are looking towards the ADCs, and if you've got yourself a Rakan, you might as well get the lover. It's going to be the Xayah for Raze.
And this has seen a resurgence in popularity. You know, it's probably going to be the lethal tempo Storm Razor. This is an actual crit AD carry. None of that Varus Bork Ginsu's into crit after that. He's just going to go straight Storm Razor, maybe the Rapid into the IE, things like that.
I was going to ask, do you reckon it's going to be the IE? We had a bit of a discussion backstage yesterday about Essence Reaver over Storm Razor for Xayah. I'm in the Essence Reaver camp. I know you're probably not.
I definitely think you're very wrong in the Essence Reaver camp. So, we'll see how it goes. You know, Raze from my region, see if he agrees with me. But there's definitely potential to switch things up.
Well, not really changing too much up in the ADC pool here for the KLH. It's going to be the Ezreal, and that's going to be an Olaf in the jungle.
And that is a pretty risky pick. I feel like at this stage, the big junglers that are still up and available, you look at the likes of the Trundle, that didn't get banned away, the Olaf as well. Gray's one of those champions that if he gets ahead can just steamroll an Olaf. Olaf can be very feast or famine, and this is a pretty difficult matchup. That is just a hover tier, but if they pick that one up, then that's cool. They don't.
No, just going to go in for the Cassiopeia. Now, both of these teams have drafted they want to fight. I mean, there's nothing about this, but all these teams want to do is just go head to head. I love this.
Yep,
this is the perfect team comps for me. Maybe not for you, because you probably not get to talk about it.
I back team fights, you know. Like, I'm an engaged support player, but Chiefs have the potential to opt in to something like a 1-3-1. They have the Cass, who, in terms of majors, she's not going to take the TP this game if Ryoma sticks with Ignite, but they have decent 1-3-1. In terms of majors, she fares probably the best out of all in terms of the side lane. Kled, of course, if he gets an advantage on the Ornn, can run amok in the top lane, in the bot lane, things like that. So Chiefs, I feel like, have a little bit more options here, but Kuala Lumpur Hunters, they just have a whole hope of engage. They have the Alistar, they have the Ornn, they just want to go in.
Keep in mind that Raze also has a teleport. Now, you probably won't catch him going to a side lane and then teleporting into a fight, but there are 4 teleports available to the Chiefs, so they can at least match.
Yep.
If that happens, but realistically, you're probably not going to see Raze use that teleport and just go farm in a side lane.
Well, we did actually see the Chiefs make some nice macro plays yesterday. When they had the Tahm Kench, it's different here, but they left Raze in the top lane, and he was just farming it up on the Varus and then TP'd to the fight on the other side of the map. So it's not normally like something you think about in terms of an 80 carry flanking with CC in a team fight. Of course, Zaya very different, but I wouldn't put it past them to play pretty creative. Raze is a pretty creative player. The Chiefs are one of the most versatile teams in the OPL in terms of playing the 8.12, like this current iteration of League of Legends meta. He plays the bruisers, the mages. So going back to an old faithful in Zaya Khan does kind of lead back into the defaults.
Well, Chiefs with their deep pulls are flexing into pretty standard OPL comp here.
Yep.
Lots of engage, lots of fighting. And let's see if Southeast Asia are going to be able to match that. Remember, Kuala Lumpur Hunters did lose their game yesterday. They do have one more tomorrow, though. So we have to see whether or not they're going to be able to get themselves into a good foot, put themselves 1-1 for the week as we take to the Summoner's Rift. Kuala Lumpur Hunters on that blue side.
And I'm going to question this, but I'm actually not sure if it's intentional. Shiro just placed that pink ward, and all he has is a refillable pot. He actually hasn't started an item. He's gone straight potions, straight ward, which he placed down very early, so maybe this is an intentional play. And of course, Ornn can actually build items in the laning phase, so it doesn't struggle too much, but if that's an early all-in coming out of Swiper, if he reads this, we could have some very early fights up in the top lane.
Remember, you can't actually change that refillable into a corrupting potion as well. You can't buy consumables. No more wards as well, so bit of a risky start here for Shiro. See whether or not it's going to pay off as Babip and Swiper grouping up. They're probably just going to start with a normal leash, just waiting for any shenanigans as KLH just looking to spot out Chiefs.
Just trying to scout things out. Olaf, one of the most versatile junglers in terms of the early game, he can do so many paths. He can start Wolves, he can start Wraiths alone. He wants to get low, so he farms his camps faster. The fact that they start off with that pink ward, that it actually got cleared out by the Chiefs, is pretty rough, because that was that air of safety that they had. Now he's going to be a leashless red start on the other side of the map. Babip has the opportunity to invade topside.
And how does this actually work out if you have the Olaf meeting up versus the Graves? I mean, I'm not a jungler. I'm an ADC / a mid lane. I don't care what my jungler is doing as long as he's ganking me. If these two meet each other early, who gets the upper hand?
Well, it depends a lot on the terrain, right? If Graves has the ability to get onto Olaf before Olaf is onto him, then he's just going to run amok. He has actually gone for the fleet footwork, so he's going to have a healthier clear than normal. We saw last game Tussle actually take Electrocute, but a lot of early jungle skirmishes actually decided more on lane priority. You expect Ryoma on this matchup right here. Very nice
Ryoma
trade.
Forces the flash of our hedge.
And that was level 2 to level 1. I expected him to have priority, maybe not this much at this point, but all of a sudden Babip still on the top side of the map going for the crab. Blue buff actually warded out by Caspiel, so he knows the invade is there. He knows the potential, and he's playing it safe.
He missed a fair few minions underneath his tower. It does have that teleport, so you can always come back if he needs to. Do you see Babip actually not go in for that invade?
And that honestly does surprise me. Doran's blade
mid-prio.
now picked up by the Ornn, so he actually bought an item at this stage, but Swiper 13 CS to 7. You know he got control of that early wave. He hit level 2 first, he forced him out. So they had prio in mid and top. They didn't look to commit that too much into the jungle as Swiper. Very nice trade.
Just having a little trade versus Shiro, got himself a bit of an advantage. Remember, we'll be looking to refill up that bar and get himself his pet lizard back, but Caspel wants to make something happen about this. He's charging it up. He's looking to get himself up, and first blood gets picked up by Caspel.
And it just looks so easy. Swiper wanted the vision. He wanted to ward out the Olaf. They knew he was tracking towards the top side of the map. They have the Scuttle Crab up there, and he should not have died to that gank.
Well, our hedge now takes himself a decent trade versus Ryoma. Hasn't actually gone back yet. So he's just been able to recover health up with his passive over time. But Swiper now looking for a bit of revenge. Does miss the bear trap on the rope, but he goes over the wall with the joust looking for the damage, and he's able to get it. He's now going for the 2v1. Shiro forced to use the run, and he is going to be able to get out of there. But that bear trap has connected, and Swiper not going to commit for more.
And this is the patch 8.13 coming to fruition. When you die early, your death timers are even shorter on this instance, on this patch. So Caspiel not experienced with that enough. He goes for the golem taken. Swiper TP's back to the lane despite dying to that first blood. Now he has double buff, so trading back to gold.
Looking for our hedge. Ignites on, and Ryoma is able to pick himself up a kill. That is 2 for the Chiefs.
And yeah, just multiple lanes right now. Hyper aggressive from the Chiefs. Babip goes top to bot. All of a sudden hasn't even based and rocks up in the mid lane. You saw the very early flash burnt from the Swain by Ryoma, and that's just punished by the jungler of the Chiefs.
Oh, Hedge did have that teleport. He did hold on to that, so he's able to get back and at least catch this wave, or at least the majority of it. But great punish coming through from the Chiefs, recognizing where the weaknesses are, where they can look to put that attention down.
And everything's been happening on the top side of the map. We've seen fights in the mid lane and the top side. This bottom lane we haven't really looked at just yet. Xayah and Rakan, one of the best level 1 all-in duos. They have a huge spike at level 2 as well. So I was surprised to see the Ezreal Ali actually be able to shove them in, as our Swipe is going to get a nice trade onto Shiro here. But Chiefs have been playing it more defensive on the bottom side. Maybe because of the summoner mismatch, because they have the TP versus the heal, and lethal tempo scales a lot better into the late game. So in terms of their early all-in, not too great, but I'm surprised to see how it's playing out.
Well, Swiper does land the bear trap on the rope onto Shiro. Has got that red buff, remember, so he's got a lot of damage to boot. Is going to get knocked off Skull, though.
It's not even about the damage, though. Like, sure, that is very nice. True damage ticking away. He's going to have the HP regen. Kled as well, just when he remounts onto Skull, gets so much HP back, so he can take even neutral or sometimes slightly negative trades. And if he doesn't get all in by the Olaf or by the Ornn, if he doesn't get ganked, he will just win the battle of attrition.
Well, it looks like Aspel is wanting to come up to try and alleviate some pressure, but he does have Babip hot on his heels on that Graves. And Shiro maybe a little bit slower behind the punch here, but has now seen Babip come into lane. Swiper's just getting his lane pushed out so he can get a nice base off now.
Yep, just wants to get a recall.
Gold. He hasn't
no
bought anything
TP.
since getting that kill either, so
That's
probably looking to get that Tiamat as soon as possible.
Yeah, we'll be sitting on a nice little chunk of gold. He not too much, only 40 CS, but wants to go back to base, no TP, so he calls over Babip, who's actually a level up in the jungle right here, so had the priority, has base, has got his skirmishes, so, you know, if he meets an Olaf in the river at this point, we'll be absolutely fine.
Orama constantly got that shove, has himself a good 10 CS lead over our hedge, forcing him in. Also got a kill to boot, so the gold lead pretty comfortable there in the mid lane, but if we do have a look at the gold overall, it's only 500 lead to Chiefs, so it's nothing massive, nothing major at the moment. You can see the gold on your scoreboard right now.
And that is the 2 kills, right? Like, obviously Chiefs have more, but the first blood going over means that KLH are kind of still in the running, but you have to look at the state of the map right now. That's 3 winning lanes for the Chiefs, a winning jungle matchup. Sure, bot now getting shoved in, but they did have the priority in the bottom lane for the time being. And not to mention, they scale incredibly well. They have multiple carry threats, even in the jungle as well. Whereas KLH have gone for a more tanky composition. So in terms of sustained damage, if this game goes late, Chiefs have so much more. And KLH are really going to have to get the picks on their CC. When Ali goes in, when Ornn goes in, they have to get those picks. Otherwise, team fights could be rough.
And both of these teams are looking for these team fights as well. So like you said, want to get yourself into a decent position before you go in for that. At the moment, feels like it's slowed down a little bit.
Yep.
Lots of aggression early, but for the last couple of minutes, this team's maybe taking a bit of a step back. Chiefs quite happy with what they've gained so far, but Babip actually maybe wants to look for something onto Shiro. He has got that red buff and the slows. He's got a lot of damage to follow up as Chief looking to use the charge. Did use it as a great Ornn Horn, will dissuade the dive.
And they get everything from the Ornn. That's Flash, that's a TP-less Ornn as well. And they use the ultimate. Of course, might just be traded for the Infernal Drake on the other side of the map. Olaf does that pretty quickly. It will be uncontested as Ryoma actually wanting a blue buff over the priority in the mid lane.
And it's great punish. No one can really come up to help Shiro. It's everyone is bot lane. Mid was pushed as well, so Shiro, very smart of him to recognize that, and he's starting to back away from the wave.
And it's interesting to juxtapose this to how the early game versus Dead FM went for the Chiefs. Swiper fell so far behind, was getting dove underneath his turret on the Kled, and then made his way back into the game. All of a sudden, he's ahead in the matchup, and they're just punishing the top side of the map for KLH.
Looks like they're trying to punish the bottom side of the map, though, from KLH as well onto Chiefs. Jungler coming through, just threatening the dive versus Chiefs. But Raising Destiny do read that play, and this will be first brick going over to Chiefs in the top side.
And it is just a reactive play. Swain bases in the mid side. They look for an opportunity bot. We saw it in the minimap Chiefs. They do back away, but they don't burn any summoners. Xayah Rakan especially is a very hard duo to land, to actually dive. Xayah has that invulnerability. Rakan so much CC, and there is so much outplay potential from the Chiefs bottom lane. Olaf, at this stage of the game, isn't even good at tanking up the turret, so would have to be superior going in first. And
I mean,
if you're an Alistar going onto a Xayah, she can 100% just ult your combo. That is so easy, so broadcast, and in terms of opportunities down here, they looked, but they couldn't find it.
Well, at least they're looking for it. At least they're fishing for it this time. KLH are starting to lose the gold. It's a 2k lead over to Chiefs, and might not be quite as much of a stomp as their last game they played in, but it is starting to slip away from them. They need to get a firm grip on this game before Chiefs can run away with it. However, I do need to take you back to yesterday, when Chiefs had a big, big lead.
Yep.
And they kind of threw it out the window with a couple of team fights. And I'm sure KLH have read this, have seen this.
I'm sure they have. We're at a few different compositions here. I feel like the game you're talking about versus Pentagram, they obviously had the potential for the late game team fights. I feel like Chiefs scale incredibly well this game. They don't have the ability to tank as much, but in terms of this going later, this is a tier user in the Casio. Her scaling is astronomical. Zaya Rakan scale even better as a duo. Of course, there's some good points for KLH. Ezreal touted as the best, like 1v9, 80 carry, things like that. Maybe since Kai'Sa release, not so much, but this game is ever so slowly kind of creeping out of their control. The big spike will be in the mid game when Swain gets his Rod of Ages, when he gets his Zhonya's, when Azura Vecchi finally gets to his 2-item spike, has the Triforce, has the tier completed, things like that. And if it goes super late, I expect Chiefs to just run over it. So I feel like it's pretty rough that KLH are slowly losing grip at this point of the game.
Well, Chiefs are collapsing onto that Rift Herald. Vision of Empire will spot it out. They will know that it's going on for the moment, but looks like a bit of a collapse is starting to come through. Remember, there is a teleport available to Raze, where Azura Vecchi can only lend that True Shot Barrage if they want to go for the fight. Headbutt pulverize into a two-man Petrifying Gaze, but the Ornhorn's gone down already. Ryoma's gone golden, followed up by Arhedge, who is in that Demonic Ascension, who is starting to heal up. Swiper forced to flash out. The collateral damage cuts through 4. Nobody falls in the fight, and the Rift Herald will reset.
And that's exactly what we said earlier. Once the CC comes out of KLH, once Ornn goes, once Ali goes, and they do not get the pick, they can't continue further. Nice miasma out of Ryoma. He lives for just long enough with a stopwatch, and ultimately nobody dies, but nobody gets the Rift Herald.
Just going to be that big old reset by KLH. Good for them, actually, considering how far they're behind. They didn't lose anyone in the fight, but they were at least able to kind of stop a big objective going over to Chiefs. They need to keep this up. Maybe next time find themselves a better punish.
Yep, they do have the Infernal Drake, and the fact that Azura Vecchi in the 1 versus 1 with Raze in the bottom lane was constantly shoving in the Xayah meant that Raze couldn't actually TP. Of course, you mentioned they have the TP advantage. That could have been a 4 versus 5, but Xayah TPing in with the makings of a Storm Razor is not all that effective, so Chiefs kind of happy to just back away, take the long cooldowns on the ultis. Alistar at about half, Ornn at about half, and Babip just returns to the play. He goes topside, starts Rift Herald again. And once again, we're just in this situation, about a 2,000 gold lead for the Chiefs, and they're just trying to eke out more time and time again.
I think this time it should go uncontested by the Chiefs. They still got the damage there. And Rift Herald's going to go down at 12 minutes. This now means they can open up more of the map. Where do you think they're going to use this? Bot lane, mid lane?
Probably mid, most likely. It opens up the map the most. Ryoma has constantly been building this lead. Has that early kill, now goes back and finishes his Seraphs, and that's about a 20 CS lead. We saw him yesterday on the Swain games, falling down very early in the game, like 50 CS against Seros. I'm not sure the exact number, game number 2, but was falling behind in the matchup. So the fact that he's gone back to a more Ryoma sort of champion for that early aggression with Babip, they've completely flipped the playstyle, and it seems to be working here.
So again, I mean, this game's been very more, well, sorry, that was a really silly way to say things. This game has been a lot more macro-focused than any of the other OPL games we've seen so far, really. A lot of them have kind of just been ramming your head into the brick wall until you smash the brick wall so far. But Chiefs kind of showing, hey, we can actually play League of Legends by the book. You know, we can play this kind of more slow tempo game. Yep. Obviously, Legacy did play before this, and they also play into that more Korean style, but that comes from the fact that they got a Korean coach as well.
Well, Chiefs do kind of open it up in the mid game, right? Like their early game, sure, if they can get a few kills, they'll go for them, but they are the brute force team once it hits that 20-minute mark, once the Baron is up and available. But this sort of composition is completely different. All of a sudden, Babip doesn't have engaged. Swiper's not on a pure tank. He's actually on a carry threat, so they're mixing it up coming into Rift Rivals. Of course, Destiny back on the Rakan. All eggs are in his basket in terms of if Chiefs want a team fight, but right now, as you mentioned, they are playing that more macro style. I think they're probably going to set up into a 1-3-1 fairly soon. Depending on what this Dragon spawn is, it's about 20 seconds away, and the fact that Babip is down here, I feel like it means Chiefs do want to contest that one, so it's probably pretty important.
Well, we are going to see. I do remember Spawn saying yesterday, 20 minutes in Baron. That is the Chiefs' win condition. That's how they like to play. I think they got the Baron at 25 minutes in game 1, if I remember correctly.
Ooh, and that's a double Infernal, and you are correct.
And you're also correct. That is a double
That is
Infernal.
a double Infernal.
So very, very high priority. Well, I keep saying very, very high priority Dragon for the Chiefs to be able to get their hands on.
Yep, they obviously don't want to give over 2, more so than that they need the 1. They already have a ton of damage, so it scales very well with them. The fact that KLH are now bringing their bot side up, that's Alistar leaving the lane. Once again, Destiny roaming up to try and match. They're just contesting over this vision, but the fact that Swiper now has the Phage, he has the Tiamat, constantly pressuring in the side lane. You see he has the TP, but Ornn, Shiro is just walking towards mid lane. They want to be able to contest this one, and Rift Herald is just going to be popped by Chiefs.
And this is really big. Seeing the Rift Herald go out, now the Dragons are alive. There's got to be, someone has to deal with that. Well, Chiefs can just turn towards the Dragon. They're still sitting on 2 control wards on Destiny as well, when there's none in the inventory of KLH, but it looks like they just want to go straight in for the fight. Dragon's already at half HP, and I don't think it's even going to be contested. Chiefs able to get themselves it.
And they just get the 2-for-1. They get mid-turret. Shelly also dives into the inner, so that gets a huge chunk of the mid lane as well. Ezreal, there was no way in for that fight for KLH. They're all coming from mid lane, all coming from top side. Even if the CC lands, Azora Vecchi was still farming it up on the bot lane with heal, no TP, so he can't reposition. Chiefs, they get basically everything there, and KLH, whilst looking for an answer, they don't trade on the other side of the map. They try to contest, and once again, it's a little bit too late, and Chiefs, they just take the pot.
Very, very well played by Chiefs. Now, what's the next call for them? Obviously, this bot lane is starting to get low. Are they going to send Swiper down here and send the duo into the mid lane, which we do sometimes see, because then you can rotate them around the map a little bit more easy?
I feel like we've kind of been hedging the 1-3-1 as we talked about, as Ryoma is actually going into the bot lane. That's exactly what they want to do. But Bip is fairly strong, working on that Black Cleaver. We saw last game was actually the Ghostblade first pickup, so he's going for the more tank shred against the tankier lineup, and they have such quick engage out of Destiny, who hasn't actually burnt his flash entirely this game. I feel like it's just been sitting on that cooldown the entire time, has that one available, so Chiefs can just pull the trigger on any play. If this is a Swain who doesn't have a stopwatch at this point, probably will be working on his Zonya's second item, and if they just stick to the standard lanes on the side of KLH, then it's going to be super rough for them to deal with.
Ejim, where is the OPL ARAM I'm used to?
Are you flaming a macro, bro?
I am flaming your macro, but I'm also giving a big old shout out to your team fighting, and here we go! Destiny has thrown down the quickness, but an instant disengage by our hedge. Even a teleport coming through, and on the flank, a headbutt pulverize is dodged out by the blade cooler, and they're trying to go for more as Babip turning around, and petrifying gaze does connect, and Ryoma is going to be forced to flash out. We got a teleport from Swiper. We've got everyone diving in and out of the fight. In comes the charge. Swiper's going underneath the tower, and Babip is still somehow alive. That's going to be the first kill, as it's going to be over onto Swiper. Make that 2 for Chiefs. They're chasing for more. Babip gets the 3rd. And now he's looking for Caspell. Raze is going underneath the tower. Azora Vecchi has gone golden, and he will die. It's a 4 for none.
Almost the complete ace so early into the game. Chase pull the trigger on a team fight. Swiper lands, and they continue to go back in. Once again, KLH use all of their abilities. They go onto Ryoma, but a single flash gets him out of CC, and Chiefs completely turn it around.
That's the team fight I wanted to see out of Chiefs. That's the aggression I wanted to see out of OPL. They pull the trigger, they win the team fight, they take 2 turrets, and they're going to go back and spend that gold.
And once again, this was something KLH opted into. Destiny misses the early engage onto the Swain, who flashed it over the wall. Superior looks for it, but as we talked about, Ali's so hard to get onto the Xayah. Azora Vecchi in a moment gets completely split from the rest of his team. He goes over the wall, looking for some damage. That jump right there potentially just cost them the team fight, means the Chiefs can constantly keep chasing. The backline just diving them under the turret. Seraphs comes out, Swiper's pretty tanky, so they can just shrug off the turret damage, and this was so close to being a complete ace.
That was true Swiper style as well. He just went in under the tower 1v4, while the rest of the team just repositioned and then collapsed on and helped him out.
They get everything there. As we take a look at the Xayah build, it's not going to be the Essence Reaver. It is actually the Storm Razor. Probably going into the Rapid, probably going into the IE, but
I can see why it's better than the Essence Reaver, but I'm going to stick to it.
Good.
I know I'm probably getting flamed right now.
Don't stick to it.
Give me a Reddit thread like, who is this guy?
There's no idea.
Does he know what patch we're on?
Absolutely not.
We're on 8.13 with the reworked Essence Reaver.
Also
it was
with
reworked quite a while ago.
Reworked Aatrox, by the way. We saw that one yesterday, but approaching the 20-minute mark, about a minute away, Chiefs are still deploying into this 1-3-1, whereas they put Swiper in the bot side. No TPs available for the top laners. Raze does have his, but Split Bush 80 carry, for lack of a better word, just kind of sucks, unless you're maybe a Vayne or something like that. So he's down here alone. KLH trying to pick on him somewhat. He actually gets unspotted into this bush, but they would have seen him a while ago walking through the lane. Hella deep wards for the Chiefs, and Swiper playing it respectfully.
He's playing it very respectfully.
He
Has got that charge. In comes the Call of the Forge God. He's going to throw down that charge, and they're going to chase him down, but he can get out nice and simple. Swiper makes his escape.
Yep, but that is very good timing from KLH. If that's 40 seconds from now, all of a sudden Chiefs just turn around and they have such a quick Baron. That's a crit 80 carry, a Cassiopeia, a damaged jungler. Sure, they don't have a tank, but they just one-shot the big purple worm if they ever get onto it. So going on Chiefs now, going on Swiper in the bottom lane means that there is no real answer on the top side. This turret, oh, actually.
They could just go in for the engage. Petrifying Gaze goes a little bit wide, but our Hedge is burning away to the poison. Superior taking a couple of Twin Fangs, but he is okay. That's going to be 1 kill and a turret over to the Chiefs.
And just as I praise the timing, they get caught top side of the map. TP is available for the Swain when he lands. Our Hedge can get back to the play, but Chiefs, they don't have Castle, they don't have Claydol, but they're still looking for the Baron.
The Messiah was right. It's the 20-minute Baron Nashor for the Chiefs. Let's see if KLH are going to try and contest this. The jungler and the top laner are absolutely miles away. And like you said, they are shredding through the big purple worm. They're making him look like a gummy worm. And now their Snake is going to chase after the cow, and he is turned into a beef burger.
Snakes win, by the way, and Chiefs just do it so quickly. Decisive play out of Destiny gets them the one pick they need. KLH spend too much time, too many resources to pick on Swiper in the bot lane, and they don't get a kill. They get some camps, but ultimately lose the Baron, and this gold lead is now 10,000. 20 minutes into the game, it came out of nowhere. They were slowly building, but pick after pick, team fight after team fight, and all of a sudden, Cassiopeia is huge, Graves is huge, and that's a Baron buff to boot.
This game is starting to run away with the Chiefs. They have put it on their back, and they are making a run for their second Infernal Drake. This is the third of the game. This is what I wanted to see.
Only Infernal Drakes. KLH, pretty lucky for Kuala Lumpur here, as this is almost uncontestable.
There's nothing you can do.
Yep.
They've managed to get themselves their second Infernal Drake. 10k gold lead, sitting on all of their items. Zai hasn't actually spent any of her items yet, but Swiper does have that charge, does not have that flash. Where is he going to go?
Does he go forwards?
Forwards. I think that's the best way to go, but the rest of Chiefs are starting to come through. Can Swiper stay alive? He might just go 1v4. Our Hedge falls down, and Chiefs go in. Destiny, that was a monster engage. It's a double kill onto Swiper. Make it one more for Destiny. 3 of KLH fall, and the Chiefs are massive.
And they half committed to the play. They brought down so many members to pick on this Kled once more, but they don't get the kill. Swiper does so much damage. He's so big on this champion. Chiefs collapse and wipe the floor with KLH.
1-11, 21 minutes on the board, and Chiefs are looking for their last glory kill. They're looking for the turret, and they're looking to tie this up with the fastest game of all of Rift Rivals 2018.
And they might just do it.
Oh, they've done it.
Looking for a few extra kills. Had the best GG stats. Classic OPL fashion, you know, but eventually they do hit the Nexus. That's another win for the OPL.
That's another win for OPL. They are now top of the standings. Very, very solid showing up for the OPL. And considering they were knocked out, they were third last Rift Rivals here. They're looking very, very strong, very, very dominant. And the standing champions, the rulers of the Pacific Rift, Japan, currently sitting at the bottom.
Yep, they're 1-4 right now. That was a super rough game for Kuala Lumpur Hunters. Fell behind pretty early. They got a nice trade kill into Swiper. If you think how that started, there was very few early ganks, but most of them went the way of the Chiefs. They didn't lose a single turret that game. As soon as they got control, as soon as it got to the mid game, they were just constantly outplaying on a macro level, on a micro level. There was multiple things that they were doing across the board, and it just looked like every play that KLH looked for just fizzled.
They had one death. That was so clean from them. 2 team fights in a row were 4 for 1s. 4 for 0s. They lost nobody in these team fights, and OPL clearly the superior team fighting team region in this part of the Rift Rivals.
And I just love that they keep going back to the Kled, in all honesty. Swiper in the OPL for the start of it, like we've been saying, is the weak point for this Chiefs lineup. They want to play through their mid jungle, they want to play through their bottom lane, but all of a sudden coming to Rift Rivals, picking out an old favorite pick in the Kled, and that's 2 wins for the Chiefs, both of them on that champion.
Looking very, very good, and I mean, I just want to bring it back. I want to call you out here. You guys said to me, Swiper, we're not sure on him. We don't know if he's actually that great. They didn't say it quite that rude, but
they absolutely did.
He
also,
did not say it.
He's making eye contact with me as you say that. Like, you know what I mean? It blows me a kiss. He's not happy about that one, but you know
I
what
am very happy about that one.
After
he is
a
looking
performance
great.
like that, absolutely, completely turning it around.
Looking really, really good there from Swiper. And I mean, all the Chiefs really showing up here. OPL as a region, just looking dominant so far.
And it was across the board, right? This was them going back to the traditional Chief style, right? Like Ryoma on that Cassiopeia, no more Swain blind picks in the mid lane. It was taken away by KLH early. They answer with that Assassin Mage in the mid lane, and that was a flash burnt, literally level 2 spike for Cassio, all ins, and across the board, bottom lane, once again for Chiefs, they're playing kind of more defensive. They were just getting shoved in, but when Babip and the 2 solo laners of the Chiefs are doing so much work on the top side, they don't need to.
Well, another dominant win for the OPL. They have one more game coming up later. Oh, sorry, 2 more games coming up later. And next will be Direwolves taking on Destination from Japan. So we'll have to see how that goes out. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you shortly.